Hello, everyone. If you're here for the budget session, if you could start to move up here, like try and keep the chatter in the back of the room to a very low roar, if we can. Yeah, I know it's all his fault. I know. So if you're in the budget session, please come up. And there are also breakout rooms behind registration that you can go to if you want to have a different kind of conversation. It's really hard to conduct a session in this room with stuff going on in the back of the room. Okay, I think we'll get started so we can stay on time here. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your conference. There's been a lot of great information going on, and so thank you again for coming. I'm very pleased to introduce our next three speakers for how to work a budget. Budgets, tall ship events are typically funded with cash and in-kind support from a variety of sources, including the city, the Port Authority, and business sponsors. But how do you manage the project budget to deliver a successful event that meets the expectations of visitors, ships, trainees, and other stakeholders? This session will illustrate how a successful event can be delivered while retaining a strong focus on budgetary control. I know there'll be a lot of questions. We're going to hold them to the end and we'll share them with our speakers. So first up, I'd like to introduce Sam Groom. Sam's experience includes responsibility for a number of major events held in Cornwall. Sam was responsible for host port management in Falmouth for the Funchal 500 Tall Ships Regatta in 2008 and was again at the helm for the Falmouth Tall Ships Regatta in 2014. With over 17 years experience in the tourism and events industry, Sam joined Visit Cornwall in 2010 to head up a team responsible for the management of Cornwall's event strategy and delivery. And in 2015, Sam created Cornwall's newest event management company, Perfect Events Group. And I should introduce myself. I kind of got going already, trying to get everybody out of the room because there's been so much chatter going on. I'm Patty Locke. I'm Special Events Director for Tall Ships America. And my role here is port development, port education. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. And I live and breathe budgets as all of you do as well with your events. So this is actually a pretty exciting session for me as well. So with that, I would like to introduce Sam Groom, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam. Actually, Paddy's covered off quite a lot of what I was going to say in my first slide. But just to put it into context, based in Cornwall, it's a county that's in the far west of the UK, surrounded by water, lots of maritime history and heritage to the county, and Falmouth, where the tall ships events are normally held, is the third deepest natural harbour in the world. So I worked at the time for Cornwall Council and for Visit Cornwall. Visit Cornwall is the tourist board for the county. The county itself has in approximately around 5 million visitors a year. So, as she also mentioned, Falmouth Tall Ships Regatta, the Funchal 500 Tall Ships Regatta, and also the day one of the Olympic Torch Relay are the sort of three major events I've been involved in the last few years, and then setting up my own event company. Due to the fact that after the Tall Ships event in 2014, the council, due to budgetary constraints, has actually made us all redundant. So there is no longer, which obviously for future events may cause some budgetary issues, but there is no longer an events team as such based in the council within Cornwall anymore. So I'm just going to concentrate in this presentation on the Falmouth Tall Ships Regatta in 2014. And first of all, I want to start by showing you a legacy video that just gives you a bit of an idea and a bit of a feel as to what the event was like. Hopefully. We're going to get some action from... Oh, sorry, hang on a second.
Rolling right back into Liverpool town. Give it some time to roll and down. Roll and down, boys, roll and down.
Well, the event's been absolutely huge for Falmouth. I mean, we've had tall ships here before, and they've always been very special events. But I think this one has really been the best ever, and it's been fantastic.
Santiana. He won the day down in Monterrey. All along the plains of Mexico. Either up and away we'll go. Either way, Santiana.
Actually, I think it really does secure again that Falmouth is a maritime event destination and that Falmouth can put on really professional, great maritime events. And, you know, an event like this encourages other events to happen. We have a huge programme in Falmouth right across the year, but it secures those bigger events that bring in the bigger money and the bigger impact, promotional and also economically.
We got everybody in on Wednesday, which was a huge from an organisation point of view. Bonus, everybody was in, tied up, the ships behaved, their captains wonderfully. Weather was fantastic, marvellous crowds. We had about 18,000 people into the docks yesterday, and throughout the town, including the docks, probably about 35,000 people.
Oh, it's wonderful here. I mean, the atmosphere is fantastic. It's an amazing experience.
I love the atmosphere here, and the breeze gives you an idea of what it might be like out at sea.
Really happy with the crews and the ships for the welcome that they've had into Falmouth. We have huge numbers of volunteers helping us. We have over 100 that just look after the ships and the crews alone. And today we've got cruise sports and prize giving, and then they're all having a party this evening. So really good fun for them.
It's an immense opportunity for the youngsters. We're just crewing it just to give them the opportunity to do it, and we're looking forward to the next race.
Roll and down, bullies, roll and down. Way, hey, roll and down. Blowing right back into Liverpool town. Give me some time to blow and down. Blow and
I think that's probably the largest flotilla I've ever seen, and I've done a number of these events in the past which have been well attended. But I think we certainly broke all records today with the number of leisure craft that were joining in.
down. Give me some time to blow the man down. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so that just gives you a bit of an idea of the event and the atmosphere of the event. We're fairly small scale in Falmouth, perhaps to some of the events that you've organised or will be organising. The Falmouth itself has a population of about 25,000, and it increases, and we manage that in the summer, but we are a small port. The ships were open to the public for 3 days, from the Thursday through to the Saturday. You can see here we struggled a little bit with the berthing. We've got ships berthed 3 deep, which obviously caused us some logistical challenges, but essentially we managed to fit all the ships in. We had our parade of sail on the Sunday, and then race, which was to just off the Isle of Wight, and then the ships cruised up to Greenwich. So for our budget planning, we worked at the beginning on 30 vessels estimated to take part, and we had a target set from SDI for training recruitment of 50, and we estimated that we would have in the region of 150 to 200,000 visitors over the 4 days. So we put a draft budget together about 2 years prior to the event, and the budget was based on fixed costs, things that we knew that sort of round about what those costs would be, and also from previous events, because we had organised the event in 2008, so we had a basis to work from. And we did record both cash and in-kind support to give us a total budget expenditure. And what we did was we put together really 6 budget headings. So administration, which covered, for example, SGI costs, project management costs, meetings, volunteer recruitment, etc. Harbour fees, which was all about the berthing and the movement of the ships. trainee costs, so the crew party, the crew parade, marketing. We put an advertising budget together. Obviously, we had the website, and we did secure external support for PR, because for us in Cornwall it was very important that we promoted the event as internationally as we possibly could. We're very keen in Falmouth to make sure that Falmouth is known as a major event destination. Evaluation, absolutely key. In 2008, we produced an evaluation report which gave us the economic impact that we could then use for all of our sponsorship packages, for all of our partners, obtaining our partners. So they all understood what the economic impact and also what the promotional impact of the event was going to be. Plus, obviously, gave us information on visitor satisfaction, etc. And then we had an other section, and to start with, that started off fairly small. There would be things like the captain's dinner, waste management, insurance, etc. And obviously, as the event developed, that was the areas where the budget items were added. What that enabled us to do was to set up a steering group. So we looked at all the partners that we needed to deliver those aspects of the budget, and we also set up working groups. Some of the working groups would just be a single working group, where there might be a couple under each heading. For example, under the harbour section, we had a working group looking at the berthing of the ships, and then we had a second working group looking at the parade of sail. So 2 years prior to the event, we had an estimated budget expenditure of 350,000, which again, perhaps for some of you, that's a small figure, but that was our estimated expenditure. The actual cost after the event, once we finished everything and totted it all up, was 409,000. So I mentioned partners. I think for us, the key success of the event, and the reason we were able to keep our budget down as low as we were, was because we had partnership support. We created a contract as such with some key delivery partners. Cornwall Council were our main partner. They put in 100,000 towards the event, and they also were the underwriters of the event. And obviously having them on board then enabled the other partners to feel secure and comfortable to come on board. Myself, I worked for Visit Cornwall Development Company, so we were the delivery partner as such for the event. Falmouth bid, in Falmouth, and I'm sure in other towns in the UK, we have what's called a business improvement district, which is basically that the local businesses in the town all put part of their taxes into a pot, and we were able to use that money as a contribution towards the event. So we didn't have to go to each of the individual shop owners in the town, for example, to get them to contribute to the event. We are a tourship friendly port. For many, many years there's been a volunteer association called Falmouth Tourships Association, and that association generates through various sources money that it puts towards tourships events. We have a marine network. There's about 500 marine businesses in Cornwall, and we have a network that communicates with those businesses. And as part of the event, they were able to, as in-kind support, recruit the trainees for us. So that was a fantastic opportunity for us to have a company like that, with all of the contacts that they had, recruit the trainees. A&P are the docks owners. And obviously we couldn't put the event on without them, because that's where our main wharf area is. Again, in-kind support from them. And Falmouth Harbour Commissioners were responsible for all of the maritime movements. We did have, because Falmouth Docks is not suitable for the smaller vessels, we did have a second berthing area, which was a marina, and they offered us a pontoonage at a reduced cost. We have a museum in the town, and the museum is a fantastic facility, and we use that for our lecture theatre and for our media centre, and so it was a place where we were able to do all of our briefings, and again, that was all of those facilities were given to us in kind. So I think it's key, if you have got those facilities available to you, then make the most of them and use them, rather than looking at having to put in additional structures, temporary structures in place. And we also have a volunteer management agency as well in the county, and that agency did the volunteer recruitment for us for the event. The recruitment for the volunteers that looked after the public. And during the event, we did actually use them and pay. So this was in kind, but we did use them and pay for them to manage the volunteers during the event for us. We set up sponsorship packages, and we had our major sponsor, our principal sponsor, and then we had lower tiers with event sponsors and event supporters. And then we looked at other forms of income, including programme sales and other funding options. And that then formed our budget, expenditure and income for the event. 2 years prior to the event, our estimated in-kind support was around 90,000, with a cash target of 260,000. And in actual fact, we did manage to secure in-kind support of just under £150,000 and an income of just over 250,000. In the end, what that meant actually was we did overspend by £2,000. Not too bad going, but we did overspend. So I've just put some of the budget items together, and there are budgets available to you after the presentation if you would like to take a copy home with you. But really just talking about the administration in a little bit more detail, our key costs were Sail Training International costs for obviously the port fees and conferences and accommodation, and then sort of running up behind that was our host port meetings and coming to the conferences and things like that. There were obviously costs that we had to bear as such. Everything else within reason under administration we did manage to secure as in kind, and then I mentioned about the volunteer management. We did pay for that during the event. Harbour fees, our main area of cost was towage. We did have our wharf and marina space again as in-kind support. Ship's waste, obviously that was a cost, and things like shore power, etc. So there were cash costs there that we couldn't avoid. I put this slide in just to highlight one of the areas where I think we reduced our costs was everything was in close proximity. So you can see on the right-hand side slide, that shows you where the berthing of the ships were, the two areas within the docks and in the town marina. And then the other slide shows you all of the activities that took place during the event. So everything was in walking distance for the public and for the crews. So that reduced any transportation costs and also contributed to the success of the event because everything was close by and accessible for everybody. Our trainee costs, that was an area that we didn't skimp on. Our crew parade and our party was by far one of the most expensive items in our budget. We had been awarded the best crew entertainment port in a previous year, and we wanted to retain that. It was a fantastic party and a great time for all. We also didn't skimp on the toilets and the showers. We knew from previous experience that was areas that the crew always complained about, so we made sure that those facilities were top notch, and obviously those things cost money. Marketing. I work for a marketing agency, so I had quite a lot of extra support with the marketing budget. But again, we did, we kept it within reason, and we did manage the budget as best we could. We did employ an external PR agency, which, with them managing the media centre for us as well, cost in the region of about £18,000. But everything else was pretty much in kind or done within our internal sources. We did manage to secure a media partner who designed the programme for us, which meant that then we only had the printing costs for our programme, our official programme for the public, so we managed to raise some good income from that. And I've mentioned before about evaluation and that was obviously something that we had to pay for, but was an important part of our project management. So, also it doesn't quite fit on the screen. So our budget was in the region of 33,000 cash plus our in-kind support that we achieved. We started working on marketing the event about 16 months prior to, with media sell-in for event listings, etc. We produced joint leaflets. We worked very much with all the businesses in town where we could, so we used existing customer databases to send information out. We worked with Cornwall Marine Network. We sent information out using their networks to their members. We developed media partnerships, and we developed partnerships with the town and also with the local radio. So, I mean, there was mention earlier in a presentation about developing an app or developing apps in the future. We used for our event the radio stations where they were able to give out specific messages about anything changes that were happening with the event or traffic management information, etc. And obviously that was all free of charge. Our website was a fairly major cost, but we did content manage that ourselves, and with social media and digital content, we kept it alive and kept it as, it became really our main source of information for the event. And we had 1,100 plus sessions or views onto the website, so it was obviously a key tool for the marketing of the event. We used a PR agency to promote our event and manage our media centre, and that raised £2.3 million in PR value for the county. It was a target that I had to achieve as part of the council giving us funding for the event. So that was very positive. We had over 130 national articles, 220 local articles. We had press boats that were fully booked, and we had about 120 journalists and photographers and TV crew come through our media centre during the event. We produced printed materials of all sorts, the key one being our programme, which in the end raised us an income of just under £18,000 towards our costs. So that was very positive for us. And then there's a mention there about our social media that we use, which in 2008, when I did the event in 2008, that didn't exist. So that was obviously a change to our project management. The other section for our budget was very much about things like the captain's dinner, VIP receptions, volunteer thank you, all very important aspects to the success of the event. We made sure right through the event that everybody that was involved in delivering the event, whether it was an official partner, a sponsor or a volunteer, were all valued right through the process. And we finished that off with a fantastic party that we had. You'll see that's an image of Event Square. That's not the final party. That is actually an ABBA tribute night, which was obviously very popular as part of the event. But we had a fantastic volunteer and partners thank you party at the end of the event, which they all appreciated. Also on these budget item areas, we had things like firework display. It's a bit chicken and egg with this section of our budget, so we managed to get Saga to sponsor the firework display so we could have a firework display. Otherwise it would have been something that we would have had to have considered whether we put it into the budget or not. And here we obviously had things like waste management, which was a big cost for us, but an essential part of the event delivery, and first aid, etc. The one area that's particularly high on this section of our budget was the insurance. Unfortunately, we took out insurance, but we had a miscommunication with the docs who also took out insurance, and so there was a lesson to be learnt there because we had extra costs that we weren't expecting after the event. So this shows you the income that we achieved, cash and in kind, around 65,000 sponsorship income. I think the key point here is that you can see that the official partners and the event partners and the supporters very much made up the income of this budget. And that's how it worked, and it's how it worked for us. we started off with trying to get a principal sponsor contribute £100,000 towards the event, which proved impossible. We don't have any big businesses in Cornwall, so it is quite a battle for us to get sponsors. We did manage to achieve 30,000 from BT Cornwall. For us, that was much better than in 2008, because in 2008 we had a brewery, and the brewery wanted to have marquees everywhere, so we had additional costs and additional management, whereas this was just £30,000 cash, which worked really well for us, so we were pleased with that. We then had a lower level of event sponsors, and we set packages for these event sponsors, but they all wanted different things in the end. So some of that was in-kind support that they were able to provide. One of the companies, they weren't interested in anything except for they wanted all of their 350 staff from their office to be able to go on board and have a tour on a tool ship. So we adapted the packages to suit. Our event partners were key to the delivery of the event. We had a leisure company who provided the sports for the crew, for the cruise. Again, that was in kind, free of charge to us. We had a festival company who we gave the rights for the 3 main entertainment areas. In return, they gave us £10,000 to our budget, and then they got to have those sites exclusively, and they made their money from the bar and food and drink. So that worked for both of us, and it meant that they were then delivering that event, for that part of the event for us. And then I've mentioned programme sales. So, not necessarily a budget item, but sort of coming back to the importance of partnership and the importance of working with all the community to make the event a success. And we had a art and storytelling project with the young children. We had a competition where we promoted the event, and we paid for the funds for 2 trainees to go on board. We created a town working group to encourage all of the businesses in the town to engage in the event and to join in and to make the event worthwhile for them, which obviously in turn then made it a success for us. We had around 295 volunteers who supported the event, our volunteers for the public and our liaison officers, and as I mentioned before, we made sure that they were thanked right the way through. And then not to mention our colleagues and our partners, Waste Management, I've written there because they kept the town absolutely clean for the whole time during the event, and it was hard work for them, but they were enthused and part of the event, and therefore they were positive about it. And just before the event itself, we had a big meeting with all of the key delivery partners and the emergency services to go through all of the plans and check all of the health and safety for the delivery of the event. And that was a really positive thing to do, because it got everybody that was involved or had a responsibility as part of the event together in one room, and then suddenly we all became a team working together to deliver this event. And finally then, on the results, we had 47 vessels sign up in the end. 44 of those took part. We had a couple that pulled out. We had 12 Class A's. We had over 1,000 crew, and we filled 120 of those ourselves. And our captain's dinner was oversubscribed. It was a busy night. We had 197,000 visitors, so very close to what we predicted. That was actually record crowd numbers for us. We had very high visitor satisfaction recorded, and we had over 1,300 vessels on the water, the largest spectator fleet in living memory for Falmouth, so we really gave them a fantastic send-off. The event itself generated 20.9 million for the local economy, a massive figure considering the budget was just over 400,000. 10.5 million of that was attributed to the event itself. And there were very positive reports of the businesses, that they felt that the regatta was important to their image, that their turnover was up. And one of the key things was that we actually got the event, or the parade of sail, captured on the front page of the national papers, of the Times and the Guardian. You can't buy that. We've estimated it at around 100,000. And our total PR coverage for the event was valued at 2.3 million. So, and our event management was highly praised by all, which was fantastic. So we felt overall we had produced a successful event on a small budget, and we won Gold Event of the Year at our local tourism awards, and also we were voted Best Family Event on the What's On Cornwall Awards. So all in all, a very positive event, and we're looking forward to having a Tall Ships again in Falmouth soon. And I'm going to switch over to questions because we're not doing questions at the moment. We're going to do it at the end. Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you definitely work magic, and thank you so much for throwing in that community piece. That was terrific. So our next speaker this morning, this afternoon, is Bjorg Johnsrud Western, who is project manager of Hostport Fredrikstad for the Tall Ship races in 2014 and 2005. She holds a master's degree in organization and leadership and has a widespread municipal experience from managing positions and is presently running innovative Nordic project within culture-based industries. Her sailing experience includes a family yacht for many years and occasional tall ship race legs on Class A's. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, still with us. Thank you for letting me share with you my experiences. I come from the city of Fredrikstad in Norway, and it lies about 100 kilometers southeast of Oslo, quite near to the Swedish border and to the coastline to the Oslo Fjord. I was, as she said, a project manager in 2005 and 2014, and the budget in 2005 was 12.4 million Norwegian crowns. That's approximately 1.2 million euros. The result in 2005 was 5,000 euro missing. The budget for 2014 was 17.4 million Norwegian crowns. That's approximately 1.8 million euros. The result was positive, 340,000 euros. And the City Council this time has decided that those money will go to the next event in 2019. So this time we had quite a good start. The reasons for the positive result is what I would like to share with you. How we worked and what we had in focus. Details for the budget and the account you may have after the session talking to me. First of all, I think it's very important to have focus of how you organize and the responsibility in the project. The sources was for our part the city, the port authority and sponsors. And we used volunteers, job trainees and other projects. I think it's just as much as thinking incomes, it's how you plan for your costs and cut your costs. This is an island actually in the center of the city in Fredrikstad, and you can see the old town in the back. In Fredrikstad, the project manager was responsible for sponsors, funding and implementation. And one rule was, do not spend money before you have them. Second rule, the project manager must have full and detailed control of all orders and invoices. It seems like a huge job, but it's worth it. As a project manager, I was working within the City Council. And as a part of the City Council, you know people and it's easier to ask for services and favors. You know the local community and businesses. It's easy to do the source planning and working with sponsorships. You also know the official planning documents, and it's easy to use the synergies with other projects. The Port Authority in our town had the responsibility for the maritime group and their services and expenses. And my advice is to have a clear and good contract. This is the river Glomma in the center of the city. And for sponsors, we presupposes that you know the project well. In Fredrikstad, both in 2005 and in 2014, I had the responsibility for sponsorships. It's hard work, and it's easier to find services and goods than money. To find the right sponsors, you have to know exactly what the project needs. How many meters of cables for water and electricity could be one problem. And the best way to do this is to use the different checklists. The fleet checklist and the commercial checklist, and analyze them. And of course, it's easier to do it the second and third time. This is the bridge of Fredrikstad, not the bridge of London. And it seems a bit chaotic here, but this was the day when we took the ships in. And we have quite a huge job to do because the river is rather narrow. So all the ships has to have 2 tanks. As I said, I think it's important how we organize and how we work with the city, but I also would like to add 3 more things that I think is important to think when you think about the sources. Volunteers. Use healthy, effective seniors. We, in 2014, had about 350 volunteers. We use them in the writing group and Facebook group, both driven by senior volunteers. Also the media center and info points had senior volunteers. Some of them started to work 1.5 years before the event started. We also had some job trainees. Newly educated young people looking for experiences and job possibilities are a huge resource. They are enthusiastic and the costs are lower, but you need to plan for coaching. The last 10 years, the city of Fredrikstad has taken part in other projects funded by EU or the Norwegian government. The projects are an important part of the city's industrial and urban development, and the business opportunities for marketing, reputation management, and development. This is an example how we had a profile for one project in lifting our maritime history, and we used the same profile for the Tall Ships Races 2014. There are some other examples, and we all time has a goal that we at least have 3 or 4 parallel projects going. Now we are planning for the Tall Ships Races Fredrikstad in 2019. And from the day we got the news, we have started to be part of other projects. And the goal is to catch and use the synergies. Then I would just say welcome to Fredrikstad. The race in 2019 starts in Aalborg. Race 1 is to Fredrikstad. And it's cruising company to Bergen. And then the last race is to Aarhus. Welcome and thank you.
Very much. I love your rule. Do not spend money unless you have it. All right. It is my pleasure now for our final presenter, Carlton Aylett, president of Krista Slack and Aylett from Toronto. As owner, president, and senior producer at Krista Slack and Aylett, Carlton has contributed to the company's growth and success during his 20-year tenure. His versatility and eye for detail translates into results-driven event management and production. Carlton's capabilities in all aspects of live event and show producing, from creative concept through to execution, are what make him a unique asset on every show. Welcome. And while Carlton's coming up, I just want to remind you that we do have copies of the budgets for two of our speakers, and I know you said you've also got access to it. So there you go. Yes. Oh, sure. I can. Yeah, absolutely. That's probably not a bad idea. How many of you are international? Not North America. The whole room. Okay, just about. All right. Well, very good. You've probably heard us a little bit. I mean, here you have two international festivals that are very successful, but then you also see what's going on in North America if you've attended some of our other sessions. And the difference that you see in our budgets, for instance, and we covered this in a couple of our other sessions that I was a part of, and that is that on the international side, you don't charge for a gate. You don't charge admission for it. So, no revenue stream for that. And yet you make your money through food, beverage sponsorship, possibly city funding. Whereas on the North American side, we do charge for admission and or boarding. Some of our ports are able to do both. Some can only do boarding, and Toronto is a good example of that. They kind of fall between the U.S. and international model, kind of getting caught in between. But that actually creates a problem for us, because sponsorship is not as easy as everyone thinks it's going to be to obtain, and city funding is practically non-existent, especially on the North American side. So good for you if you can get it. So those are the basic differences between our two event structures. Everyone pays a fee to participate as a host port, whether it's to Tall Ships America or to STI. And I think those are the main differences when you're putting your budgets together. I see a lot of similarities in what Sam had put together on her list for budget. That would be very similar to what I would put together. I think about the only thing that I didn't see listed, and it was a question for you, was how you amortize your sponsor benefits. And we can get into that when we get to the question thing. So, does that get you started? Okay, very good.
Hello, everybody. This was a learning experience for me at this conference. This is the first conference that I've attended. And I think the biggest thing for me was just learning the differences between the European format and what we're dealing with here in North America. So just to give you a little bit of background, we're an events production company. We produce probably about 50 events a year in Toronto. And the Redpath Waterfront Festival is one of the biggest events that we produce in Toronto. The event really is, the mandate is to position Toronto as a world-class waterfront destination. We've gone through a lot of changes over the last 5 years on our waterfront. There's a 30-year plan in place with Waterfront Toronto in charge of the redevelopment, and it's one of the largest redevelopment waterfront projects in the world. It's really our sponsors and major stakeholders of the waterfront that allow us to produce the festival. One thing a little different with ours, we produce the festival every year, and Tall Ships is a highlight of our festival every 3 years. Just to give you a bit of background, 2010 was our first Tall Ships Challenge. 2012, we did an East Coast Maritime theme. 2013, we had Tall Ships Back. 2014, we had the inaugural North American Flyboard Championships in our harbor. 2015, we opened and celebrated the revitalization project of the waterfront. And in 2016, we welcomed back Tall Ships. And in 2017, we will be doing a celebration of Canada's 150th anniversary. Our waterfront is a bit challenging. We have a lot of condo developments along our waterfront, and the only public areas are city parks. So we're working in the confines of permitting with the city on parks, and also working around a lot of residential areas. Our waterfront footprint for Tall Ships is about 2 kilometers long, so it's quite a long, big area to program. And most of the areas that we program are very isolated from one another, so it's kind of like producing 5 or 6 events simultaneously. Just to give you a brief idea, the budget that I've provided is our proposed budget for 2016. And this year, because of budget restraints, we're bringing in 3 A-class ships. We have 3 sail training ships, and we have the Royal Canadian Navy bringing 2 Halifax-class ships. We've got Galleon, Draken Herald, hopefully Pride of Baltimore, Tarangini's out, and our Royal Canadian Navy. We've also partnered with the Waterfront Artisan Market, Ultimate Stunt Dog Show, and we provide entertainment on wave decks along our waterfront to kind of bring all of our parks together. And on the Sunday of our festival, we'll be doing a parade of sail. So just to give you a bit of structure, our festival, yearly festival, is run by a not-for-profit, which we started in 2012. I have a co-producer, Lee Perel, from Harmony Marketing. She looks after all of the sponsorship, government grants, and marketing aspects, and I look after all of our program partners, parks, city permits, and logistics and event management. Just to give you an idea, one of our biggest challenges is that we have limited revenue possibilities. In Canada, we're not allowed to do any sailaways with foreign ships, so once they're at the dock, that's it, they're not going anywhere. So we're really limited to deck tours is really our only revenue option. So the majority of our revenue is from sponsorship, almost $750,000 a year. And we do have access to government funding, which accounts for a fairly large portion too, almost 25%. We have copies of our budget. We can go through this. If you want more detail, I can go through it with you. But we basically break it down to operations and programming, marketing, producer teams and staff, admin, contingency. We have to, in order to get our largest government grant, our total budget has to be at least $1 million in order to qualify for a $225,000 grant. So in some years, that's very challenging. I'm really just going to walk through what some of the advantages of having our yearly event. I'll walk through some of our challenges and some of the solutions that we've come up with. One of the advantages is being a yearly event. So we really get a lot of momentum with visitors to our event. We're not waiting 3 years for them to come back. So we do have that momentum every summer. And also for sponsorship and in-kind donations, it's nice to have that relationship every year so we don't have to rebuild. We get a lot of government support on the federal and provincial level. And we have amazing relationships with very long-term committed sponsors, and the majority of our sponsors are waterfront stakeholders. Challenges, basically, the majority of our event is open to the public. Because it spans such a wide span across the waterfront, we have no way of gating it. So we've got parks that are spread out along this 2 kilometers. It would virtually be impossible to charge a fee to get in. And as I said before, no sail-aways means not a lot of revenue. Let's see here. Oh, the other big challenge is we have very little city support. The only city support we get is typically during a tall ships year, and it's maybe a contribution towards pilotage, but that's a very, very small portion of our overall revenue budget. The thing that's killing us this year is the 35% US dollar. It makes a huge difference in Canada for us. So a $40,000 ship fee becomes almost $60,000 for us. Probably the biggest challenge in all of our funding that we get from the government is that we don't find out until March, and our event is July 1st. So we have a very short time span to kind of activate those dollars. Just to go through some of our funding opportunities from a federal standpoint, in 2013, there was a very large federal secretariat celebrating the War of 1812 that we applied for, and it was one of the largest grants ever given to a not-for-profit. We got $880,000 and did a tour, an 1812 tour across 14 ports in Ontario, in the Great Lakes. For 2017, we have a Canada 150 fund, which we'll be applying for, and this is available through the federal government as well. We also have a Building Communities through Arts and Heritage. It's another fund that will focus on local talent, and so it will help us with animating the site, any of our performance stages, and it will also help support volunteers. There's a new Destination Canada fund that's available for marketing. And again, we've put an ask out to the federal government to help with pilotage fees. From a provincial standpoint, we apply for a Celebrate Ontario grant every year. It's a 3-tier system, which is why we have to have $1 million budget in order to get the top tier funding. And there's multiple marketing programs available through the government as well. So some of our solutions to make our budget work, probably the most successful has been partnering with existing programs. So we have a big space to program. Aside from the dock walls with the ships, we need to activate in the parks. And one of the most successful has been partnering with existing events. So a couple of years ago, we saw that the Wine and Spirit Festival was bringing a big crowd down to the waterfront. It was the weekend before our festival. So we approached them and made them part of our festival, which has been a big success. And it also helps from a marketing perspective because they're out spending money on marketing, so are we. If we pool that money, we can get better return. Dock Dogs was another event that we brought into our festival. Again, they had their own marketing, their own costs and revenue, and we just added them to our footprint for that weekend to really bulk up our festival. Another one, Waterfront Artisan Market, which we just started with last year. I think another solution for us is creating strategic partnerships. Lee can talk to you about this a little further, but we partner with a media partner, Bell Media in Canada, which really increases our the value that we get from our advertising dollars. Another strategic partnership we have is with Parks Canada. They activate on in our festival every year, and again, it's no cost to us. This year, we have the Royal Canadian Navy coming to our festival, so they're providing 2 ships and programming for the weekend with very little cost to the festival. And last year, with World Pride being in Toronto, we partnered with Pride Toronto to activate on one of the biggest Pride days on the Sunday. From a sponsorship perspective, our biggest and best sponsors are really major stakeholders of the waterfront. Red Path Sugar is a big dominating presence on our waterfront, and they've been a partner with us for 5 years and are a significant partner. They just signed on for 3 more years, which we're very happy about. Ports Toronto, which is our harbour authority, is also a big sponsor for us. They'll be a presenting partner this year. And Waterfront Toronto and the Waterfront BIA, also big stakeholders on the waterfront. The nice thing that we do is all of our major sponsors sit on our board of directors for the not-for-profit. And our big contributors, they have a lot at stake and really care about the waterfront and prove to be great partners and great members of our board. Another way that we've kind of worked around budget is really through engaging the community, our marine police, marine fire stations, Harbourfront Community Centre in Toronto, and this year reaching out to the Norwegian and Spanish embassies and communities in Toronto to support our Spanish and Viking ships. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll just flip through this. The last point I wanted to make was, in order to keep all of these relationships going, especially with sponsors and government grants, a very important aspect of our evaluation is a final audit. And I'm happy to share we've brought a few audits from the last few years that we'll be happy to share with you if you want to come have a look at them. Okay.
Thank you, Carlton. Stay up there. Carlton, stay. I'm going to ask all our presenters to come up, please, to the podium, and we'll get into some questions. I think you're hearing the word community a lot and engaging it and pulling a lot of that special money called in-kind into your budget, so it can save you a lot of money. You don't have to spend your cash, spend somebody else's. I think another difference that I kind of glossed over, and I didn't mean to, was the number of ships that you see at your festivals. If you're on the international side, you probably have anywhere from 20 to 60 vessels, possibly up to 100, and good for you. On the U.S. side, we often have about 20. So 20, 25 would be about the most that we have, so much smaller. So it creates a different budget structure, but we obviously all have our challenges in trying to accomplish that. And in the Great Lakes and Toronto, especially, you kind of heard what Carlton was saying, they're really just planning on 3 tall ships, and then they filled it in with their Navy vessels. So it's a very creative way to go about producing your festival. Hopefully you got some good ideas here. So one question I did want to ask was, on sponsorship, how do you add them into your budget? Do you have them as a line item when you have to spend money for fulfillment? Please, step up.
We didn't have an advertising budget as such. We used PR to communicate out to our sponsors. We used our media partners, so we got the message out there sort of amongst the southwest counties of England. And really, I would say, more to the point, we went for more of a personal approach. We did a few presentations at business breakfasts, things like that, but it was really knocking on doors. That was the way that we approached it. Certain sponsors we sort of actively approached because, for example, there's a company locally that could have provided us with all of the fencing and all of the offices for the event, so all of the regatta offices and all of that public fencing. We knew that they had those facilities and could give that towards the event, and it was an in-kind cost that they could give us. So we knocked on their door and persuaded them to do that and be part of the event that way. So some of it was cash, some of it was in-kind, but a lot of it was very targeted specifically of what we required for the event.
How about some questions from the audience? What are your struggles with your budget? What is the hardest thing you have to do to find money or add your programming, something new that's not budgeted but you still want to do it, find a way to underwrite it? Give me some ideas. Oh, sorry.
This is a simple one. What items do you have in your administration line?
Sorry, what's that?
What budget items do you have categorized as administration?
We've basically got all of our producer fees, staff fees, all of our admin fees for the whole year, and all of pretty much our labor throughout the year except for our on-site.
Well, I know you keep a very small staff. Do you also, Sam? You have a pretty small staff?
Yeah, we've had a project management team, but that, as I mentioned, was sort of incorporated within our day jobs within the council. If we went out and if the event was produced by a private company as such that had to deliver the project management, you would be adding probably £100,000 onto the budget because you've got quite a lot of staff that are required to put on an event of the scale that we were working with. And from an administration point of view, it was very much the offices, the meetings, the volunteer management, and the STI fees and conferences, etc. That's what was under our administration budget.
You had a question?
Good afternoon. I enjoyed a lot all the presentations. I'd like to ask you, what was your strategy for recruiting ships?
For recruiting
what?
ships?
Yes.
For what? Recruiting ships.
I can start. It changes every year, depending on funding. In 2013, we had about 16 ships. This year, for 2016, really our strategy was trying to find, 3 A-class ships that would work within our budget to really get the biggest bang for the buck. That's really what we were looking at this year. And because we've had ships in the harbor for the last, 3 tall ships years, we were really trying to find ships that we hadn't had before, because a lot of our visitors come back each year. We wanted to try and find something different. It works a little different here. Like we pay appearance fees for the ships, so it's really negotiating an appearance fee, and we also have to take into consideration pilotage fees. So any ships over 130 feet coming into the Great Lakes, there's a very large fee attached to it for pilotage. So it's really figuring out, each ship, and we work very closely with Patty, trying to figure out overall what ships are going to what ports to make it financially feasible for each of the ships.
So we don't pay sail trainee fees on the U.S. side. Instead, we pay an appearance fee, which I know is not common in Europe. So it's a little bit different. Now, when you're building your budget, also, it's kind of a backwards process. You signed your agreement with either Tall Ships America or STI, and you know the ships are coming, and you don't know how many ships you're going to have and how many crew. I heard one number was 1,000 crew. That's a lot to plan for, and as you put your budget together. And so, you obviously have to get really creative and be brave, I think. Well, Georg, what was your biggest challenge in trying to put together a budget, really not knowing what was coming next?
First of all, I would like to say something about recruiting ships, because it's a huge job. And we started 3 years earlier than the event, and we got our Prime Minister to write a letter which we sent to all the embassies in Norway. And then we followed up phoning the embassies and naval officers. The other ships, we spoke to the captains and the ship's owners on the conferences. And we also wrote letters and begged them to come. But the main thing is that money talks. So the best way, I'm talking for Europe now, and the best way to get them to come to your town is to find trainees and corporate hospitality. If you can tell them that you have 5 trainees to put on board and you also have corporate hospitality when they visit your town, they will come.
Another question. You're all ready with your budgets? Another one? No? How about sponsorship? You got another one?
I'm curious what you see when you have every third year and you have a Tall Ships Challenge come in. What kind of amplitude differences, what does that do to your background festival activities and revenues, etc.?
It certainly, I would say that for 2016, for instance, the projected revenues from deck tours, which is really my only revenue opportunity, will help cover the costs of the ships, but it certainly won't pay for them. We certainly get I think the biggest difference in a tall ships year, the infrastructure that we require is quite different, but we also get a pretty big peak in traffic. So in a typical Redpath Waterfront Festival year, we'll get between 350 and 550,000 people over the 3 or 4 days. In a tall ships year, we'll see maybe 750,000 people over the weekend. But I think the biggest, typically in a Redpath Waterfront Festival year with no tall ships, there's really no revenue. It's completely open to the public. And as I said, it helps pay for the ships, but it certainly doesn't pay for the ships, the deck tours.
Any last questions? Any on this side? Any final comments, Bjorg? Anything you'd like to inspire them with on putting together a budget?
It's difficult to make a good budget because you don't know how many ships are coming. We planned for 70 and we got approximately 70, but to the crew party we expected 1,700 youngster and crew to come, and it came 2,000. So then within 2 hours to order drinks and food, it's quite difficult, but we managed. So we just had to be open and try to meet the needs.
Sam?
I think for us it comes back to setting up your partnerships with all of your delivery partners and making sure that they're clear what their responsibilities are and that you have your agreements in place. Then you've got a structure to work with. Our budget fluctuated by about 50,000 in the end, so it wasn't a huge fluctuation. And we have copies here of the budget. You can take that away and you can hopefully use that yourselves to start to put together your budget items. Work on your fixed costs first and make sure you've got a contingency in your budget.
Carlton, final words of wisdom?
I think for us it's really comes down to we're 100% reliant on government funding and sponsorship. So it's really important to maintain those relationships, make sure that you deliver to your sponsors and make sure they're happy at the end of the day. And a big part of securing those relationships is a really good audit post-show, which is a big part of what Lee does. So.
Well, thank you very much to our presenters. We'll give them all a round of applause.